First tonight, back in the day, most history was recorded with pen and paper.
But for one woman in York, her pieces of history are woven and dyed, printed, cut, and stitched lovingly into glorious works of art. Ask Betsy Telford Goodwin to tell you about any quilt in her shop, and you'll get quite a story.
They're all gorgeous fabrics that are either block printed, hand painted, early fabrics. Some of them on here go back to the 1700s. It's stunning, happy, sophisticated, all the above, and in perfect condition.
With 700 antique quilts in her shop, there are a lot of stories. She knows the story of each one because she's traveled the world to find and collect these stunning creations. Many she's restored and brought back to life. It is the largest collection of antique quilts for sale in the country.
And people come in here and go, "This is so overwhelming," and I say, "Give me 5 minutes and I'll focus you."
She literally surrounds herself with history, living in a home in York built in 1748 and converting the horse barn to house her quilt shop.
So my commute is 28 feet and I can't get away from work, which is a positive and a negative. It's, you know, it's both.
She started buying quilts about 30 years ago when she lived out west in Colorado.
I was actually buying them from the women who made them during the Depression. So I could sit and listen to them for hours, and they would tell me about their environment, how they made them, why they made them, the history of them, which was, I mean, talk about an education.
Rocky Mountain Quilts was born where she stitched her love of sewing together with a love of history and began collecting, appraising, restoring, and selling beautiful antique quilts.
And this is a block print blue resist indigo. And that is 18th century.
Along the way, she has become an expert in dating the quilts, figuring out how, when, and where a quilt was made.
So you date a quilt by the newest piece of fabric, and then once you figure that out, then you have to check threads and make sure it was finished at the time that it was started.
You can almost picture the women who made these quilts. And like their creators, these quilts are the steel magnolias of the art world, made lovingly to last and be handed down through generations. But in some cases, fabrics deteriorate over time and require some careful restoration.
So I am a textile restorer. I believe my company is the only company in America, and maybe the world, that restores antique quilts only using original same-date fabric.
So while she was collecting quilts, she was also buying up antique fabrics for their restoration. She bought all the fabric she could find, millions of pieces of fabric, she says, some of it dating back to the 1780s. The fabric is as valuable to her as the quilts because in some cases she cannot find any more of it.
I only use the same fabric. The original fabric is left underneath. If you can find the pieces that I've restored, and you shouldn't be able to, and lift them, you will find the original piece underneath.
She is a self-professed fabric junkie, learning later in her life that she had a great-grandfather who ran 4 textile mills in New England, manufacturing the same fabric that she now searches out to use in restorations.
It's not new. But talk about modern art.
It would seem this passion for preserving antique quilts was woven into her DNA. But the joy and reward in this work comes from the beauty of the quilt and the satisfaction of holding history in her hands.
I mean, it just feels good.
Lovingly pulling quilt after quilt from the wall, she beams with pride as she tells each story, almost like a proud parent bursting with delight about a child.
This is a trapunto quilt. It would have taken years to make this quilt. Not only is it beautifully pieced and then quilted within a 1/16 of an inch of its life, but then you separate threads on the back and stuff it. It's called a trapunto. It's 1 in a million. I mean, you're talking years worth of work.
The quilts are stunning and enduring. Each represents a place in time where handiwork and creativity intersects with beauty, practicality, and timelessness. For Betsy, they convey the perseverance and extraordinary skill of the women who created them.
This is women's work. Women's work is totally undervalued. This is history. It tells the life story of people.
It is undervalued.
Just saying. Well, most of the quilts that Betsy sells are now used as wall hangings. They are works of art. But as beautiful and as valuable as these quilts are, they are more sturdy than you might think. After all, many of them are 100 or 200 years old and still in pristine condition. Betsy washes all of the quilts by hand using organic soaps. None of these quilts, of course, have seen the inside of a washing machine. She sells to everyone, including some famous folks. Clients come from all over the world, and her shop is a destination. Last summer, someone traveled from New Zealand to visit Rocky Mountain Quilts. We have more information on our website about Rocky Mountain Quilts if you'd like to find out some more.
Interesting. All right.